Namaste and a very warm welcome to another impactful episode of Impact Leaders with Simply Suparnaa, where we focus on SABERA awardees of the past 8 years, creating an impact in their institutes, creating an impact in the communities, and being inspirational through the larger world around them. I have an extremely impactful leader here to introduce, and I just can't wait to get him onto your digital screens. But before I do that, as you may be aware, I'd like to give my gratitude to the higher power. Shakti has held me in good stead, and I'd like to start by the Saraswati Vandana. Ya kundendu tusharahara dhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shweta padamasana, ya brahmachitta shankar prabhutibhi, devai sada vandita, samam patu saraswati, bhagavati nishesh, jadyapaha. A very old Sanskrit verse, of course. It talks about dispelling the darkness of ignorance that resides in our hearts with the wisdom of knowledge. And without much further ado, let me introduce you to our guest here today. A lot of you may already be aware of who Amit Bhatia is, founder of Aspire Circle, just one of the things that he does, and was acknowledged by the SABERA Awards jury in 2024, specifically as a social leader. Aspire Circle is an initiative empowering people through fellowships and scholarships, essentially leaders, with 325 fellows till date and 34 scholarships, with a focus especially on women and the underprivileged community. Aspire Circle is transforming leadership, and additionally, the Aspire HCM program has trained over 65,000 graduates for new economy jobs. Amit, thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
First things first, Amit, how did you actually come to this whole giving back scenario, considering that you've had an extremely successful corporate career? And what I see from your trajectory is that you've actually taken in the learnings from your corporate journey and actually utilized them for the larger good of society.
Suparna, this might be the story of many people of my generation here in New Delhi, but my parents were both refugees who, when India got independent in 47, as young kids, uh, were longing to get to India, and they had a hard time. My father, specifically, as a 8-year-old, then walked across the border just to realize that there are no refugee camps. He worked as a at age 8 he was working as a coolie at Amritsar railway station just to make both ends meet. And in over a period of time, not getting enough education, he was working as a clerk most till he retired. So when you grow up in a very low income household, and you hope someday that you can be successful, and thanks to the great education that they were able to afford to me, I did much better. And in 2006, having spent now 16, 17 years in corporate life, I was part of the leadership team that listed WNS on New York Stock Exchange. I'd spent time at McKinsey, had founded McKinsey Knowledge Center. But that, got me to earn enough money for me to say, hey, look, I can now lead a comfortable life. I can educate my children, and I have some surplus to give back. And so in 2007, I kind of took retirement from the corporate life. And for now, 17 years on, I'm still in the impact sector. I've done multiple ventures here, but that was it. I think it was, I had very low thresholds of greed of how much I wanted. And so once I touched those thresholds, I said, now I can call it quits.
Wow, that's been quite an impressive journey, I'm sure. And I'm not too sure about the threshold of greed that has to come in from somebody who is, um, you know, who is in tune with himself or herself. I don't think there is a threshold of greed that people actually look at it from that perspective. So there is a lot more to your personality than what is being revealed in that short introduction, Amit. I want to get to know a little bit about how your first exposure with the impact journey was. I'm sure it wouldn't have been hunky dory as it is for a lot of people. There must have been failures. What was your experience?
No, in fact, I found being able to do good and efficiently, effectively in the impact is harder than doing being able to be successful in the corporate sector. So this is much harder, you know. And in 2007, when I entered the sector, it wasn't fully clear to me how I wanted to go about it. I had recently heard Bill Gates speak at an event in 2006 or around that, and I had heard him tell at that point in time, and he had just recently been going around the world with his giving pledge, and he said, look, I value people who are able to give time more than who are able to give money. And he says, look, when and he gave example of a leader he had funded. He said, this guy quit his Wall Street job, and here's what he's doing. And I just and this is very valuable for someone to. So I wanted to, when I came in, I wanted to figure out how I'm able to give time, and that's why I was 38 in 2007 when I kind of quit. And I wanted to do field work, and I said, hey, look, because I understand corporate sector recruitment, I had run KPOs, BPOs. I said, let me try and get to tier two, tier three cities, rural areas, train young people who are jobless to get jobs, put them in the corporate. And I had, kind of in my mind imagined a human talent supply chain. I said, look, in manufacturing, let's say a car manufacturer goes and optimizes tier one suppliers, tier two, tier three suppliers, and that's just 30% of his cost. In service industry, 60% of your cost is salary benefits, but we don't optimize. I said, can we get to these training centers and universities and schools? And 7 years on, although I trained 65 or 1,000 people in 18 states, but I had set that up as a social enterprise. I had incurred 25 crores in losses. I could not sustain it anymore. Uh, it did not matter what the impact was. We had received great awards, recognition from everyone, but I had not been able to make the initiative sustainable. So I retained whatever parts we were able to make them sustainable, which continue. But on the other hand, I had tried also an indirect way since 2007, which is, hey, maybe I can support the people who do things successfully in the field. And as part of that, we had built Aspire Circle, and especially we had built a fellowship program where I said, hey, look, let's give a year's training, to people who are leaders already in a way that unlike traditional training, this is a personal philosophical leadership program where they reflect on their lives, their leadership styles, and in a peer-to-peer setting using what we call Socratic dialogue, readings based reflection. They're able to find power in themselves to be their best selves. And that program got successful. 17 years on, we have 350 fellows. We did scholarships which became very successful. For example, we were able to find Saina Nehwal when she was world number 50, supported her till she was world number 5. We found Arunima Sinha, who had been thrown out of a moving train and lost her leg. She was an amputee and had dreams to get to Mount Everest. We were able to support her, and she got to Mount Everest. And so a couple of these programs were successful. Couple were hard, like the training people for jobs. But I think 17 years on, I can look back and say that between Aspire Circle, the Aspire education, and Aspire Impact, I now have a portfolio of activities which collectively work. Aspire Circle with the fellowship scholarships continues. Aspire Impact with ESG sustainability impact measurement continues. Aspire Education with senior school and middle school programs, on leadership continues. So, but it was hard. And I think for people who want to jump into this now and are quitting corporate life, there are many more ways for them to connect, Aspire Circle being one, but many ways to connect into this sector which was not available in 2007. So I had to make my own mistakes to get to my learnings.
Amit, hearing you, it seems that it's a bit of a challenge to be in the impact sector, considering that you started off with a loss of 25 crores already. But you're giving us a glimmer of hope that now there's a lot more that you can do. Whereas I know you are a very strong advocate of creating businesses that have a positive impact in your communities, in the planet, in your on your stakeholders, and yet make equal amounts of profit, if not more. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, no, I believe that for a sustainable planet and for sustainable lives, you need sustainable capital. If capital is not sustainable, we cannot address poverty and inequity and hunger and healthcare issues. So just for the world to get a perspective, total global philanthropy as per Globe Credit Suisse is about $150 billion a year. We have 3 billion poor. 50 billion per head is not going to bring them out of poverty. $50 per head. On the other hand, we have $150 trillion of global capital pool. If we can make that capital pool feel responsible to address poverty and hunger in their neighborhoods, around their factories, around their offices, climate, that they are not polluting, they are equal opportunity employers, they are trying to be find ways how to be diverse, equitable, inclusive, we will far faster address the issues that bother us all. None of us like going out in our country and see the pollution, see the poverty, see people living, in abject conditions. But pure philanthropy alone cannot do it. Philanthropy is very, very critical, but it should be, because it is scarce, it should focus on those issues where you cannot even build a social business. But if you can build a social business, I think those areas increasingly space we should allow capital to come in to be able to address, the needs of the poor. And last example around this, and about 7 8 years ago, I used to give this example. It used to surprise people. Microfinance companies which lend to India's poor, unsecured loans without secured, they used to have 2% write-off rate. But our public sector banks, which lend to our millionaires and billionaires, had 7% write-off rate. Poor make good customer, but not to be exploited. So that they can kind of live their aspirations. So I think it is possible to build business, as Prahlad, used to say, Prahlad used to say, at bottom of the pyramid. And so, given that philanthropic capital is, finite, let's focus it on areas like disaster relief, like, absolute need where capital can never come in. But wherever capital in education, healthcare, build businesses, okay, in agriculture, okay, in irrigation, okay, we should try to. So I am a big believer that we need to get the $150 trillion focused on social and environmental impact. That is what Aspire Impact does. And I think we are very close to that. So think of it this way. Now, even pension funds around the world have started reporting, hey, you earned 7% this year, while your money educated so many girls in India, while your money improved working conditions for the textile and garment industry in Bangladesh, while it made microfinance, small, loans in East Africa, and so on. So suddenly, your 7% interest is coming, having done so much good, and that is possible. So that's why I'm an
Mm.
advocate for that.
So tell me a little bit more about the social stock exchange that you're talking about, and how Aspire and the various verticals that you support are being supported themselves.
So amongst the many things I've had the good fortune to kind of witness and be part of, I was invited a couple of years ago to be on the governing council of Social Stock Exchange, and I think that's a great idea. I had also seen it, having I had run a multilateral, I had built India's Impact Investors Council. So I had seen many initiatives in UK and Brazil fail in trying to build a good social stock exchange. But the India's plan is incredible. And the commitment, both from the government and from National Stock Exchange, etc., is absolutely second to none. Mr. Ashish Chauhan, the CEO of NSE, gives personal time to this initiative to make sure. So we now have about a dozen plus listings of not for profits. India has been able to do something which no country could think of, and I think it's a great innovation. We have been able to convert a philanthropic grant into a security. It's called ZCZP, Zero Coupon, Zero Principal Instrument. We had to amend our India Security Act so that that security can be traded ultimately someday on the social stock exchange. Today it is not traded, it is just listed, and once the project time is over, the value declines to zero. But I am hopeful that the SSC will evolve in a way that that we will have NGOs be able to unlock capital on it. These are still early days, and these are still low volumes. Total may have been a little bit less than 100 crores today, but these volumes are going to grow. But I think India's approach has been remarkable. SEBI has been a big supporter. So, having been on the, kind of having a front seat to see how this idea grows, I think all NGOs should be encouraged by the fact that countries taking such progressive steps, especially in the face of when three, four such initiatives around the world failed, and we are making already a success of it. Now, at this point in time, CSR capital is not allowed on it. Obviously, foreign capital is not allowed on it. But over time, but it still leads to your tax saving, your ATG savings, etc. I think over time, rules are going to change, evolve as we build a deeper infrastructure. And I think we might be world's first country where we have a vibrant, successful social stock exchange mechanism so that donors, philanthropists, and social investors can find credible not-for-profits without doubting their integrity for a minute, knowing that they have gone through a robust process of due diligence. And for these people to unlock capital because they're already trying to put their lives out there to help others, but they always are, short of capital required to be able to do good. So I think I've seen that, as a very successful initiative and happy to be part of it. But separately to your other part of the question, I think in my own portfolio, Aspire Circle, I think I see that the more we get companies, governments, investors as well as philanthropics to use the same yardstick to measure impact, we'll be able to better allocate capital. I think the world doesn't have dearth of capital. The world has an allocation problem. We
Mhm.
allocate money into ways because we only want wealth maximization or we have certain other objectives. But I think there's a new form of capitalism evolving, Suparna. And the first, let's say, the capitalism version one was pure wealth maximization for 250 odd years since Adam Smith wrote Wealth of Nations. And that is now metamorphing to say capital has to report both financial return and social return. This
Correct.
new form of capitalism has great promise because now that 150 trillion has to report how they improve the lives of the people, how they improve the planet. And I think Aspire Impact works on these measurement system. It's a pure play ESG sustainability impact measurement enterprise. And because I've worked 17 years in the corporate sector, 17 years now in the social impact, I think, and I've run a multilateral in which was in my time it was in 32 countries. Now it's over 50 countries. I have a good vantage point to be able to see how this could, play off in the future. And I am hopeful that within a couple of decades, we will be able to address poverty and hunger the way we see it now. May not happen in my lifetime, but it will happen.
Super. I think that's a very positive note. And the fact that you are very focused on now this impact revolution to take center stage. What are your parting thoughts on India uh, as part of this impact revolution?
So, look, I think every 30, 40 years, the world has evolved. The Industrial Revolution connected us, made goods affordable in unprecedented ways. Tech Revolution connected us, and in 1991, when I came out to work in my first job, we used to have those 20-kilogram cathode ray tube computers with green screen. I lost my eyesight to those X-rays coming in 91. If you had asked anyone that someday people will have a 200-gram device in their hands connected real time doing banking, shopping, reading, entertainment, they would have said, stop, smoking pot and go write science fiction. Okay, but that became a reality. Right now we have a bigger movement taking place which I just described as a new form of impact capitalism, and this is going to change the world order one more time. So people, if in 91 when you would look at Fortune 500 companies, the companies on top, General Motors and General Electrics and Fords, they are way at the bottom, and companies that were not born, Intels and Microsofts and Tesla, they are on the top. Once again in another 10 years this order will change, and companies and organizations which are most impact oriented, are going to get on top of that table because the world is going to need that. That offers India a unique opportunity to show leadership in the world. We may not have one capitalism 1.0. Even at the end of this capitalism 1.0, we are still at best an emerging market, not a developed country. But in this capitalism 2.0, given we face this problem firsthand, we have the greatest poverty on the planet, we have many other issues, but we also have great social businesses, which the other world cannot, because we have, this is a living lab, if you can say, India for social businesses. I think India has an opportunity to create those businesses of the future, which are going to be on top of that table 10 years from now, to be able to say. So that's the opportunity India has. I mean, we know there are some secular trends. The world has to get to net zero. India has a target till 2070. This battle will be on next 45 years, and we will be hearing these terms: carbon neutrality, circularity, net zero for the next several. And I think it is in that, amongst those secular trends, where India is going to do great. Our businesses will have a new opportunity, and they need to start getting, and that is where our non-profits can come play a bigger role, because suddenly businesses are going to be open to learning from not for profits, how to deepen their impact, how to widen. And I think this collaboration is going to be the silver bullet that addresses the problem. So that's the opportunity India has. And therefore I think the young people should be very enthused, those entering the workforce, that just like I benefited in 91 as I came out of college and joined my first job, India was opening up, liberalizing, joining capitalism 1.0. People graduating today are being born into capitalism 2.0. And if they pick up the right skills, they are going to be able to ride this rising wave.
So, impact capitalism is the word now.
It is
Thank
going
you
to
so much, Amit, for your time. And you are quite an inspiring personality. I would definitely look forward to. You already have been mentoring quite a few fellows as part of the Aspire Circle who have been participants to Sabera. And I'm looking forward to some more, recognizing their work, looking forward to their mentorship. And I wish you all the best for your very forward thinking approach with impact capitalism. Thank you so much, Amit.
And thank you for everything you do, Suparna, because your platform in recognizing all these, social leaders and their effort is an important step in able to give the acknowledgement on behalf of the society. So congratulations and thank you.